parking.
Good evening. I'm State Representative G.A. Hardaway Sr., and I'm joined by our Shelby County Election Commissioner, Benicia Kimbrough, and my fellow colleague, State Representative Antonio Parkinson. The reason for the press conference is that we've received several calls from constituents who are concerned that their votes are being miscast in spite of the effort that they make to operate the machines as instructed. So we're going to make this easy. We're going to let Representative Parkinson speak to specific issues that come directly from his conversations with constituents, and then the commissioner will take up some of the technical issues and how our voters can try to protect themselves and what to do if you find that you cannot cast an accurate ballot. Representative Parkinson.
Thank you. I'm State Representative Antonio Parkinson, ANTONIOPARKINSON. Today I got a call that three of my constituents actually tried to cast their votes, two different locations. One constituent is a little younger than myself, but she also took her mother and her aunt to vote, who are in their 80s. Her experience was at Greater Lewis in Midtown, and when she said she had to press the button 4 times because her vote kept switching from Gloria Johnson to Marsha Blackburn every time she would press the button. And she said the same experience was happening in Raleigh, where her mother and her aunt voted, and when they would press the button, it would switch also. I find this alarming, because you think about, people that go to vote who might miss the fact that their vote switched and they hit the button to cast their ballot, and they're thinking they cast a ballot for one person and they ended up casting a ballot for another person. When you hit that cast ballot button, your vote is done. You cannot undo it. This is incredibly alarming, because when I got the news of my constituents casting their votes and the votes being switched, I went to my text message to tell my colleagues what I heard, and there's a whole line of text messages that was taking place about this thing happening in other places, throughout Shelby County. So it appears to be a pervasive issue. I want to applaud my colleagues and our election commissioner, because we are doing something about it, and we're trying our best to get the word out. Should I talk about the conversation also?
Yes.
I also want to mention that I did reach out to the election commissioner, sent her a text message about these things that are taking place. She called me back. The administrator, I'm sorry, Linda Phillips. And she called me back, and I expressed to her, what I thought was the urgency of the matter. And I asked her what she was going to do to get the word to, the voters, that are in Shelby County. She said she spoke to Channel 3. She said she spoke to Channel 3, and she said she was going to put some stuff on social media. My response to that was, I hope that you will do more, because everybody doesn't, no shade, everybody doesn't watch Channel 3, and everybody is not on social media. And, I hope that the Election Commission will make a bigger effort to get the word out about it, about what's happening, because her response to me was that, and I take it for, face value, her telling me, I'm not saying that there was anything nefarious about it, but she said that people need to press the name on the ballot instead of pressing the box on the ballot. So I asked her, well, why is the box on the ballot? And her response was that these are national voting machines, and that, they have the box on the ballot. And so I just think that anywhere that you press on the person that you want to vote, whether it's on the box or on their name, you should be able to cast that vote as such. And so that appears to be, and I'm no tech expert, but it sounds like a calibration issue to me. And so I just want to make sure that every single person trying to cast a vote, whether you're Democrat or Republican, that you cast the right vote. But what's interesting about this is that we're not hearing about Republican choices being switched to Democrat. But every case that we've heard has been Democrat choices being switched to Republican choices. And it's also happening on the referendum also. So the same constituent said that they voted in the referendum, they cast their vote, and it was switched to another vote. So I'll leave it at that, and I will let the Commissioner Kimbrough.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Commissioner Venecia Kimbrough, VANECIA I'm the ranking Democrat on the Shelby County Election Commission, and I'll also just reiterate that we have received several calls from constituents across the county today. I'd say in about 10 to 12 different precincts I've received reports of some irregularities with the voting machines. Now, what I will say is that I do not believe that it is anything that is nefarious in any way, shape, or form. I know that our employees and our staff have done a yeoman's job of preparing for this nationwide historic election where we expect to have higher voter turnout than in any other election known to Shelby County in any recent history at all. This is going to be a large election, and with that, we've had to bring in substantially more staff that are new. And really, I would say that the issue should have been easily resolved, because if any voter had an issue with casting their vote, we purchased new equipment that included styluses. And every voter should have been offered the opportunity to use such a stylus. And I believe that it is just not quite trained all the way, because the styluses were actually packed in every box. We verified that information. They packed actually in box number 1, so the staff could have easily whipped those out and provided it with to those voters, because that's been the issue that I've heard several occasions across the county today. And so my job today is to educate our voters, and that's what I'm here to do tonight, is to make sure voters know that, as voters, we also have a responsibility to be very careful and very intentional about casting our vote. We need to take the time to review the information, to review the ballot. It gives you several opportunities to do so before you move forward. You should ask for a stylus, and what I'll tell constituents is, if you're told that something that we purchased is not available at a polling site, you do not leave that polling site. You do not abandon your right to vote. You stand there, you ask for a supervisor. The supervisor then should be able to resolve that issue, and if that's not the case, our numbers are always available to the public, 901-870-7965, and that's any constituent, 901-870-7965. You can call or text. I'm always available 24/7 during voting hours and even after to address any concerns. And what we ask our voters to do is to be aware. First of all, be aware and be prepared. Then be very intentional about reviewing your ballot. Be very informed. You take the time to make sure before you cast that ballot, before you press that cast vote, that your selections are present. If you are having any trouble, do not leave the machine. You document, and you call for the proper supervisors in that precinct that you can show and demonstrate what that error is, because we want to know a few things. I want to know what voting machine that this is happening on. Every voting machine is identified by a number. We want to know the location. I want to know what time you voted. And then we can track back and review the calibration on specific machines that very well may be giving trouble. I won't put that beyond a reasonable doubt at this point, because it has been a problem that we've not had in recent elections. And before every election, the machines are calibrated and they are tested. I have been assured by our staff, and in our review of the machines prior to the elections, they were fine. But it's a lot of machine, it's a lot of people, and human error may also be a part of it. And so we want to just assure that every ballot is cast as the citizen wishes it to be cast. And part of that is standing your ground right there at that ballot box, and you make sure that your vote has been properly recorded. And if it has not been, you have a right to ask for a supervisor and to reach out to those that represent you, namely myself and the other 5 election commissioners, as well as our staff and team. Your problem should be resolved on the spot. There's no rushing when it comes to this civic duty. You take your time and you do what's necessary to make your voice heard. And I'm open for any questions with that.
So what are the next steps after you said this machine was having, several machines were having issues?
Well, what I've been doing thus far is documenting the calls and educating those voters that have called me that I need information. You know, it's very difficult to resolve a problem once you've left the box, right? If you haven't documented a specific voting machine number or any particular information, and you don't give your name, you don't give information about where your polling place is, it's very difficult. Those that have identified as such, the staff will be reviewing those machines and checking for proper calibration. And what we also did is we sent a massive email to every voting supervisor to assure that styluses were out and available. And we did that after the second call I got. We didn't wait until this evening. Probably have gotten dozens more calls like that since then. But we immediately went into action. So our response was swift. What we also have done is had a video made that will go up on the website, which will demonstrate, you know, because some of our citizens may not see so well, you know, maybe elder, don't quite understand, but what people do is that they learn by visual aids. And so we've prepared a visual aid that's going to be made public for the citizens to watch and understand that pressing with your finger is not the most efficient way because the machines are new and they are highly sensitive, but using a stylus and or pressing on the water bar, which includes the whole name of each and every candidate, would be much more efficient and exacting than the tiny box that's on the left-hand side, you know, because when you press in the box, your finger easily touches 2 spaces, right? Doesn't necessarily place 1, especially some of the ladies that may have nails or other things going on that make it a little bit more difficult. And so, you know, we just really want them to call in, give us your name, don't leave your machine. We want to document what that machine number is and what precinct you're at, and we're sending out our team. We have teams ready to go in all of the areas, so they're zoned out, and so response time is very quick. So there's not going to be a long wait for any of our constituents that are out at the polling places if you have a problem. And you know, this is a civic duty too, right? It's everyone's civic duty to make sure that things are happening and operating as they should. So if you see something or know something, report it. You know, don't walk away from the polling place upset and not feeling vindicated, because we can fix it. We can fix what we know about, but it's up to you all to give us a call and let us know. And that's though I applaud those citizens that called in today, and we are moving in the direction to make corrective action. And personally, I know several of us will be visiting radio stations, news stations. I'll be doing some lives tomorrow and publishing those as well, sharing the video that we have on proper use, and also educating the public about asking for a stylus in order to cast their vote the most accurate way, or using the full bar name to press a candidate's name that you wish to vote for.
You said there's 10 to 12 precincts that you got calls about. Can you name which ones those are?
I cannot, but what I'll do is if you'll give me a call after this, I'd be happy to pull my list. Unfortunately, I came for 2 reasons and left all of that in my phone, jumped out to be here quickly, and don't even have that information on me. But there are about 10 to 12 precincts, I will say that.
These machines were in use for at least the 2 earlier elections.
That is correct.
Did you have any complaints?
We have had some issues with it, but not to the extent, you know, I'd say maybe 1 or 2 calls, mostly from our seniors, are the calls that I received at the last election, but they were easily remedied. We had those constituents to ask for a stylus and or their aides or assistants to request a stylus be given to them, and they were able to cast their votes just fine.
Lower turnout in those 2 elections.
Absolutely, much lower turnout than it has been in this election. And I'd say too, emotions are a bit high and people are much more vigilant. And we want that. We want that in every election. I wished every election got the attention that this election is getting, and that our citizens turned up in record numbers, 19,000 on the first day of early voting. We'll take that any election.
Is there a possibility of needing to get new machines?
Oh no, the machines are not. It's not the machines. The machines have been tried and tested. I personally, and I'll say I'm an attorney by trade, so the inquisitive nature that I had the manufacturers and those that install our machines. I went through personal training, and personally I tested those machines. Anything that I thought or had read about that could be done to manipulate those machines, I tried it. And that was not the case. They are standalone equipment. There's no signals that are being transmitted between the machines. We have some of the best equipment in the country at this point in time. And and what we also know is that what we fought for and received is constituents can always cast a hand-marked paper ballot. You can simply pull a paper ballot and write your choices in. You don't have to use the machines. That's every citizen's choice. So if you find that you're not being successful with the marking devices, simply ask for a hand-marked paper ballot and cast your vote. We have that ability in Shelby County.
So it's just a stylus issue then?
I'd say that the error with how we're pushing our fingers on the equipment using the check marks versus the bar, because the check marks really should be used with the stylus.
The hand slide across it. You put your hand down and slide, it will change.
It will change.
You need to be precise.
That's right. The equipment is very sensitive, and it's brand new. Fairly brand new, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. We just need to use the equipment that it was designed for. The boxes are designed for the styluses. The printed names are designed to use your hand. And so it's just a lack of not enough communication and experience, correct. And we will take, as a Shelby County Commissioner, I'll take responsibility for that. Our public, these are new machines. We need to do more. We need to do more. And we're fighting for, and I'll say this to our county commissioners, a bigger budget so we can have a bigger staff so that we can do more community engagement and training. We are limited on resources. We do as much as we possibly can, but it's not nearly enough. We need community engagement specialists that this is what they do in mass numbers. And we need the budget to make that happen. So I hope, Mr. State Reps, the two of you are listening, as well as our county commissioners, so they can allocate those dollars for us to get the staffing we need to get our community and our public trained properly.
I think one of you mentioned that the Dem choices were being switched to the Republican choices, and then someone said that the Republican choices weren't being switched to the Dem choices during the votes. I mean, are you confident that it's just the stylus that's causing the issue, or is that?
Well, I would say it's the name placement.
Are you thinking something else, or?
I would say it's the name placement. Both of the names that are Democrats appear above the names that are the Republican candidates, and if you slide your hand down or you press, the calibration of the machines is such that the heat from your fingers will then trigger a switch. Is that unfortunate? Absolutely it is. That one party seemingly is being impacted more than another. But until we get all the reporting is in, I will reserve comment on that, because I know for a fact that the machines are designed to do what the machines are supposed to do. Whether or not we did a good job in providing the proper tools to the public, I will own that, because the styluses should have been out and present. No voter should have had to ask for one. They should have been readily available on the tables when a voter walked in, and that in many instances, what I have learned, was not the case. They had to request it, and in some instances they were not provided them timely or quickly, and so they stood there and repeatedly tried to fix their vote before they were confident that they had marked properly to move on.
Let me respond to that also. A couple of things. Yeah, sure. A couple of things. One, I agree with the commissioner about the styluses. The styluses should be offered. they should be suggested when the voter comes in so that the voter knows that they can use the stylus. The other thing is, possibly, quite possibly, the reason that we're hearing about the Democratic votes being switched is because our Republican constituents don't normally reach out to us. So I don't know if there are Republicans that are having the same problem, and it could very well be, but it's our, members of our constituency that are Democrats that are reaching out to us. So, and I would rather err on the side of that it's possibly happening on both sides, possibly, but the people that I hear from are, trying to cast Democratic votes. And last thing, Chairman, is this, this is what is needed. So first of all, let me tell you thank you, and thank you, Chairman, for pulling together too. This is what's needed, the education and the intentional, education of the constituency, as they are going to cast this vote, because this is a big election, and there are a lot of people that maybe, and I think Linda said this, people that just only vote in the presidential election. So they may have never even seen these machines before.
Absolutely.
Right, and so this kind of platform is incredibly important. But I think we and it may be a budget issue that we should be create a runway up to the elections and educating the public and everyone in the technical parts of how do you cast your vote. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How soon will these issues be resolved, you think?
I think immediately. I think that we sent, like I said, a rapid notice to all of the voting precinct supervisors. I'd say about 2:30 this afternoon, the memo went out to them to pull those styluses out of those boxes and make them readily available for the constituents. And so it's just a matter now of it matriculating that information, going from the supervisor to each of the poll workers that are there on site, and eventually the public. Platforms like this, I think I see pretty much all of the news stations here, and so hopefully you all will repeatedly, as a PSA, continue to run at least the soundbite as to what constituents should be using and should use, and we'll also try to hit the radio airwaves. So education is key. And that's what we will continue to do. If it is found that a particular machine is repeatedly giving some error, we'll have those machines pulled and replaced. Tested first, and then if it is found that they are erroneous in nature, having too many issues, we can pull and replace them. We have standby equipment ready to be replaced in a matter of 30 minutes or so at any of the precincts, should that become necessary. We've not seen enough consistent data, one constituent at a precinct or one at another. It has not yet been a particular precinct has had a plethora of complaints. That's not what we found. It's mostly been one at a precinct is what I've received.
You said 10 to 12 precincts. Do you have a count on the number of machines that are impacted?
We don't know, and that's part of the issue. We don't know the machine number because at most instances, the constituent had already left the polling place by the time they made the report. And so what I advocate for is do not leave the voting place. You stay at the voting place, you stand, you stay, you document, and then you report. Stay, document, report. Do not leave. And that's what will get to the bottom of if there's a particular machine that's giving us issues or not. But I'm certain after all of this, the team is also watching and looking and recording at the particular precincts. And our tech teams are on the ground as well.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
I'm not quite as nice as my colleagues. We appreciate the commissioner being available to do the job that Linda Phillips is being paid to do. Number one is to educate the public upon the use of the machines. Number two is to make sure that all of the tools necessary are available to the voter. Number three, to make sure that those workers there are fully trained and we're not getting bad directions, bad advice from the operators, are not getting bad advice from the workers at the polls. So I'm disappointed that the administrator hasn't done a better job, and I can tell you that tomorrow morning I'll be on, if not later tonight, I'll be on the phone to Trey Hargett, our Secretary of State, and make sure he's fully versed in the problems that we're having. And I'll also caution Ms. Phillips that we do have, and you know this from past elections, we do have a straight line to the United States Department of Justice. So we want our voters to have the experience of voting in this election that they deserve. So once again, we appreciate the job that my colleagues have done today to educate the voters. Number one, when you get there, don't leave until you have cast your vote. If you're running into problems and they're not resolved, call your state legislator, text your state senator, call the commissioner, Commissioner Kimbrough. Don't leave that poll until you have cast your vote. If they can't straighten out the machine, your option is to cast a paper ballot. If there are other issues about your registration or anything else, you can cast a provisional ballot. Do not leave until you have cast your vote. And if you have problems that you cannot surmount, call your state representative, call your state senator, or call Commissioner Kimbrough. So thank you all. And once again, thank you, Commissioner, for doing the job that Linda Phillips gets paid to do. And that's to educate the public on how to properly operate the machines. Thank you.
Thank you all.